Now to a health alert among dogs. It's a concern for all dog owners. A mysterious illness among man's best friend continues to spread. Just days ago, new cases were reported in Nevada and Pennsylvania. 16 states have reported this illness, including right here in California. Here to talk more about this illness with dog owners and what they should be doing is our very own local veterinarian, Sam Varon. Talk to us this morning about what is this illness.
Yeah, so canine infectious respiratory disease, you'll see CIRDC, is something that we've seen in veterinary medicine for quite a while now. We're having a current uptick of frequency. Now, we don't really know exactly if this is a new pathogen that we're seeing or if it's just an uptick of pathogens that we've seen historically. We don't really have any proof as of now that there is a new pathogen or something that's causing it. Typically, it's a complex of disease as far as it being a variety of different viruses as well as bacteria that cause it. And it is something that is contagious from dog to dog, and it is something we commonly see this time of year. Now, it's been hypothesized that because of COVID, people didn't take their dogs out very much. Dogs weren't really socialized as much, so their immune systems didn't develop the same. They also really weren't vaccinating quite as much. So suddenly we're seeing all these dogs coming out for the first time in a long time, and these are immature immune systems, and now all these dogs are getting sick. And we're reaching for answers, and we're reaching for some new disease or some new virus, but at the same time, we're really not seeing anything like that.
So what are the symptoms? What should dog owners be looking out for?
The most common thing we see is a honking cough, something stuck in my dog's throat. People will actually think a stick is stuck in my dog's throat, something like that. There's a terminal retch at the end of it. It sounds like a gagging at the end of it. There's a lot of times some white foam that will come up, some mucus, and that's really the little sensitivity of the trachea. A lot of these cases that people are really getting concerned about are progressing into a pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia in particular, and they're reaching for antibiotics and things like that. But typically, most of these animals are recovering within 7 to 10 days.
Should pet owners be cautious this holiday season bringing their dog around other dogs during family time?
I think, the most common question I get is this something that I should not be boarding my dogs? I think that if you can afford to not board your dogs, that's a better chance that your dog's not going to get an upper respiratory infection. But the most important thing is that we're vaccinating our dogs. There's a few different vaccines that we utilize to be able to protect our animals. So I think avoiding it altogether, can't really tell your dog to mask up, unfortunately, or else we would. But I think, having dogs not share water bowls and things like that, not sharing toys, if possible, the older high-risk patients, the younger, high-risk patients, the short-faced breeds, which are more prone to infections and things like that. Those are the animals that we really want to make sure are maybe getting a little special extra care and not going to get boarded, not going to see other dogs.
Is there a cure or an antibiotic to help, smooth the symptoms down?
Yeah, so a lot of times there's a bacteria called mycoplasma that's part of this complex, and we'll reach for something called doxycycline. Doxycycline is an antibiotic, but we also use it for its anti-inflammatory effects in the respiratory tract. You'll also hear about a couple cases where they were using a really strong antibiotic that they use in people typically. That's not one we typically reach for unless we're doing a culture and there's a bacterial culture that shows that we need to use a different antibiotic. Most of the time, anti-inflammatories, supportive care fluids, cough suppressants, those are all the things that we're reaching for.
And can cats get this illness, or is it just for dogs?
So far, we don't see any contagious contraction between people or cats, but at the same time, you never know. Good to keep your hands clean, always wash your hands. But I think that cats get an upper respiratory infection complex that's much different, typically associated with feline herpes virus.
And talk to me about this, because so many dog owners have more than one pup in their household. So if you see your dog is having symptoms, what do you do with your other dogs? Do you quarantine them? What's your answer?
Quarantine is ideal. It's really funny, actually. I did a segment on another channel, and my golden doodle, who never goes to see other dogs, had an upper respiratory infection when I was out of town. She's better now, and she had a little bit of cough for a while, and none of the other dogs got it. So it just goes to show you how variable the immune system is and how there's different parts to this disease. It's a complex. There's different bacteria, there's different virus. So ideally, yes, quarantining that dog, but by the time that dog is with your other dogs, they've probably all been exposed, right? A lot of times clients will reach out for medications, and we'll say, hey, you know, if the other dogs start coming down with symptoms, let us know. We'll send home medication. Calling your vet if there are symptoms that develop. I'd recommend not bringing the dog in unless things are getting really bad, unless you're seeing decreased appetite, if you're seeing major recurrence of vomiting, if you're seeing, you know, major lethargy, if you're seeing any major depressed energy where they're really not wanting to get up and go eat their food, things like that, older dogs, that's when we start to get worried about pneumonia, right?
Right. And we don't want to set any fear to our dog owners this morning.
No, definitely not.
And talk to us about that message about don't stop taking your dog to the dog park. Allow them to still be an animal.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is if your pet's vaccinated, if your pet's healthy, there's no other pre-existing conditions, this is not something that we want to be locking up our dogs, because that could actually do more damage socializing-wise. It's really important to not be freaked out about this because, like I said, it's most likely just an uptick of something we've seen historically. You know, I'm not seeing any dogs dying here in Sacramento from it. There's a lot of other things that we need to be more concerned about. Flea tick, heartworm, things like that are much more important than this disease.
All right, well, keep your pup up to date on its shots and it should be okay, yeah?
Definitely.
All right, doctor, thank you so much. We appreciate you.